show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's July 19th, 2021. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, and we are talking about the news of the day after a pretty relaxing weekend, I would say, but a couple guys that were not real relaxed were basketball coach Jim Larrañaga and his assistant coach Chris Caputo. Pictures came out on social media, Matt. They're at the Peach Jam in Atlanta, and of course that's where the number one prospect in America, Jalen Duren, is. And so the picture comes out. We see Larrañaga and Caputo sitting there like total bosses. Let's be honest. They were on top of the moment, and sitting to the next seat is John Calipari from Kentucky, and sitting next to him was an ancient name, Larry Brown, who now is an assistant coach at Memphis. And those are the three finalists for Jalen, and he's going to be making an announcement pretty soon. And the sweepstakes are on at the Peach Jam in Atlanta for those guys. And we got a correspondent on the ground there. We hope to soon have an update on the Jalen Duren's sweepstakes, but we think that Miami is in a real good spot. So we figured we'd kick off the show with that this morning, since that's the biggest hurricane news there is. If Miami can land the top prospect in America, you're going to see Miami basketball back on the map in a big-time way this year. I think, Matt, that they can be a top 10 team if they get this one big guy. But getting to the stories on the website this morning, might as well start on the basketball note. We've got an update on forward Malik Reneau from Montverde Academy in Hialeah. And he's not Jalen Duren, but he is a very high-quality basketball prospect, probably the top player in Dade County in this cycle. And he's playing it real close to the vest. But I think when push comes to shove at the end, that the Hurricanes have a great shot. Matt, your thoughts on that one?
Well, first of all, getting back to Jalen Duren, how cool would it have been if instead of having three hats on the table, he has three coaches sitting at the table and he just picks one, right?
And it was those guys.
That's what that picture almost looked like. Just pick one of the coaches. So yeah, I mean, I think they're in good shape with Malik. Just, look, I mean, basketball kids are different than football kids. They just are,
very hard to read.
Yeah, the fans out there don't understand, because you just think of recruits a recruit. Like, these basketball kids, man, their AAU coaches constantly are telling these kids, like, don't tell anyone anything. We're going to figure this out, just the two of us, whatever. It's like a whole different situation. And I mean, we've heard some good things about the chances of Malik from outside sources, but like, until these kids do something, it's like, you just don't know. Basketball kids are rough, man. I mean, I'm glad I cover football recruiting more than basketball recruiting. If I covered basketball recruiting full time, I mean, I don't know what I'd do. It's just so hard to figure out what these kids are going to do or what they're thinking. I mean, it's really a whole different animal.
But on a positive note, for all you guys that are listening right now, I mean, the good thing is that things are on the upswing for Miami basketball. They got Wong and Magusti to come back. They got
can't get worse. So of course it's better be on the upswing.
Yeah, it definitely couldn't get worse. You're right. But when you add the Charlie Moore point guard, Jordan Miller, a wing guy as transfers, just a lot of really good positive stuff. Sam Wardenberg coming back. If they could just get that one big guy, because really, if you look at Dengak and Rodney Miller, those guys are more backup level players, let's be honest. No disrespect to them. They've been in the program for a long time. But you're probably not going to go deep into the NCAA tournament with those guys as your starting big man. But as your second and third big men now, where their minutes don't have to be that deep, and you can bring them in for spots and cameo appearances. Now you're talking about a whole different ball game. So if Larrañaga and Caputo can walk out of Atlanta with a commitment from Jalen Duren, it's back to big time basketball at the University of Miami. And I'm talking about competing for the ACC title, making the NCAA tournament, and being in the top 15, top 20, maybe even the top 10. So we'll be all over that, watching that. Very exciting things going on there. And, of course, with the Malik Reneau recruitment as well. All right, back to football. we got a story on the website this morning on the two kids from the southern part of Dade County, Dante Anderson and Daniel Lyons. They're teammates. They're defensive linemen. Anderson's a 4-star. Lyons is a 3-star. They've made a lot of noise about going to the same school. We think Miami is right there on this one. But I will say this, the board is not very, very, very thin at defensive line. If you're talking about potentially landing like a Nigel E. Kelly, for example, a Shamar Stewart, Miami gets those two guys. I wonder if there's even room for Dante Anderson. And if there's no Dante Anderson, I wonder if there's going to be a Daniel Lyons. So it looks like things are going well for Miami in those recruitments, but I'm not ready to jump into the fray here and absolutely declare that they're going to be Miami commitments in the end. I think a lot's going to depend on what happens with some of these other guys. They're considering Florida and Florida State as well. Matt, your thoughts on that situation?
Look, I mean, I've talked to these kids a lot over the last couple of years. They want to be Miami Hurricanes. This is the problem sometimes when a kid just wants to play the game and see everywhere and not commit and not make a statement to Miami coaches that, I'll shut it down or anything like that. You're right. I mean, if they get, a few other, defensive ends or defensive tackles that they think are just as good that want to come on board, these kids don't think about it this way, but there's only so many spots in each position that a coach is reasonably going to expect to take in a given class. And, these kids are wanting to wait. And you're not wrong, but I think if Miami wants them, at the end of the day, they'll be Miami Hurricanes. I mean, that's the easiest way to put it right now.
Yeah, but look at it this way, Matt. Like Dante Anderson's he's a nice player. He's got a 4-star ranking. He's a good player. He's not Shamar Stewart, and I'm not sure he's Nigel E. Kelly either. And there's a reason why those two guys are a little bit more in demand than these two. And at Miami probably is not pressing these guys enormously hard right this minute for a commitment because they've got those other things going on. So it's going to be
Miami's new style is not to press anyone for a commitment, which I don't know if that's good or bad, but they used to, coaches would say, you ready to commit? Let's get you on board. They don't do that anymore.
I think it's good. I like it.
I think just because they're not pressing for these kids' commitments, well, they're not pressing for anyone's commitments because they want the kids now to come to them and say, I'm ready, not for them to say, hey, commit to us. Kids is okay. And then a month later decommits because, you forced you to sort of pressure him and, you're an adult, he's a kid. So I agree with you. They shouldn't do it.
But they've got bodies on the roster. They've got bodies that the roster is deep with young players. They need impact players. They need guys that are going to change football games. And if they don't get them, Matt, then it's going to be hard for Manny Diaz to keep this job past another year, 2 years, 3 years. If they can't turn the corner and start actually beating anybody that's good and winning something. So they're trying to upgrade. They're clearly trying to upgrade the talent on the roster. You've got an elite recruiter in T-Rob on the case on the defensive side of the ball. He is all over the place. T-Rob is recruiting at a level that we have not seen here in a while in terms of the effort he's putting into the number of kids he's putting it into. That's what he was brought here for. That's his specialty, and he is working it. Everybody that we talk to, you hear T-Rob. He's not just recruiting defensive backs. He's recruiting linebackers. He's recruiting defensive linemen. T-Rob, if there's a defensive player being recruited, you can bet that T-Rob is almost definitely in the mix. And
I'm convinced there's 3 T-Robs on the staff.
Right.
I don't know how he has the time.
Right. Supposedly he's been on vacation for the last few weeks, but yeah.
Kids on vacation. These kids are still hearing from him every day.
Yeah. T-Rob's all over the place. And Manny Diaz is definitely getting his money's worth, what he brought T-Rob here for. At the end of the day, what matters is the results. It's a results-oriented business. We'll see who Miami lands in this class, but T-Rob was brought here to recruit, and he's doing it. And as a Canes fan, you guys listening out there, that's all you can ask for. He's given it his all, and he is fully committed to being here at Miami and helping get this program back where it belongs with some better football players. We'll see how it works out. And I'm not saying he wouldn't leave if somebody offers him a coordinator job, but he is all in on this Miami recruitment effort right now. And all we could do is, clap our hands, man, because T-Rob is giving it the max effort. And we'll see what happens. All right. So we've got the story in Anderson and Lyons that we just talked about. There's also, might as well stay on recruiting, an inside look at the Traquan Fagan's recruitment on the website right now. And that one's interesting also because he's kind of like on, I don't want to use the word back burner because I don't know that that's really accurate. I'm going to say side burner. Alabama's got him on the side burner right now. They've got they just got a recent commit. They got a couple of defensive backs that they are looking to also get. And so they've got Fagan's on hold. So that means Fagan's has had Miami on hold. But Fagan's isn't going to be able to keep Miami on hold forever, Matt. And I think there's a reasonable chance here in the next few weeks. He's making noise about committing possibly by the end of the month or something along those lines. If Alabama doesn't jump in, full bore here by the end of July, I think we're going to see a Fagan's Miami commit. Your thoughts?
I mean, I don't know why Fagan's is in such a rush to commit. Like, the last thing I want to have happen is this kid to commit. Miami thinks they have him on board, shuts down the rest of that part of the, whatever the numbers are at that position. And then, like, 2 months from now, Alabama says, we got room for you, and he goes to Alabama. Like, we've seen that happen sometimes with local kids, right, who commit somewhere else, Cincinnati's or wherever it is. I'm just making that up, but that's that type of school. But, like, and then Miami offers them, even 2 weeks before signing day, they wind up coming to Miami. These kids just always wanted to come. This kid wants to go to Alabama. So it's concerning to me. I don't understand why he's in a rush the end of July. Alabama has to decide, or else I'm going to Miami. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Just wait. For Miami, it's better if he waits. Like, I don't understand the rush to commit. You're not signing anything until December, right? So I want to know he's on board. And if not, like, let Miami keep recruiting other kids at that position, Yeah,
I think they get nervous, though. I think they're starting, the kids start to get nervous about
losing. They want
to
hold the spot at Miami. I don't like that. That's not good for Miami. Don't hold the spot at Miami.
No, it's not, but I don't think they pass on Fagan's. I think they'll take the chance.
Pass on If Fagan's announces for Miami, they're going to say, great,
Right.
But I just hope they keep recruiting other kids and treat it like he's not really committed, because if Alabama at the end of the day says, we got a spot for you, I hate to say it, but I mean, there's a good chance he jumps ship, So, like, it's not like Miami fans should be out celebrating on the streets like he's definite when he announces. Like, you got to wait and see what happens.
Well, it's a tough deal for the coaches. I mean, they've already got the Kamari Rogers commit. They've already got Chris Graves committed. So now you take a Fagan's commitment. It's hard to keep
recruiting. He's other kids when he's committed. It's not great if he winds up somewhere else. Hopefully, he stays at Miami and Alabama doesn't offer him down the road. But and obviously they go elsewhere. It's a big problem.
Yeah, and they're going to be aware of that. It's going to be a very tricky thing. Like, what if another guy, like, say, like a Nick Cole, decides that he wants to come, or
Well, Nick Cole, I think they like him as a striker too, so that's not a big deal. But yeah.
But they're only going to take so many DBs in the class,
right.
So I don't know. But I think if Fagan wants to commit, they got to take their chances, and I think they will. And we'll see where it goes from there. All right, so we're talking about DBs. So explain this one to me, Matt. I'm gonna because we're getting ready to talk about 2 more DBs. Seems like all Miami's doing is recruiting DBs. You've got Arizona State commit Alfonso Allen, story on the website right now. He's a DB from Miami Central, committed to Arizona State. T-Rob has started recruiting him more actively in the last couple weeks. And then you've got Darius Thomas from Miramar High. He came to Paradise Camp. The coaches liked what they saw. They offered him after Paradise Camp, and now he's going to official visit by the end of the month. It's a parade of defensive backs. Like, where are they going to have room for all these guys?
I mean, they're having problems getting safeties for obvious reasons. I mean, and some of these kids like Darius is sort of a tweener. It could be a cornerback or a safety, but if you're T-Rob, your position is safeties coach, and like no one right now is dying to come to Miami that's a top safety just because you got James Williams, Avante Williams, other older guys. It's like not an ideal situation where you think, oh, I can come in and play in year 1 or year 2. No, I mean, if you're lucky, maybe as a redshirt sophomore, or earlier, only if James Williams and Avante Williams don't pan out. But it seems like those 2 guys are going to be studs.
And how about Keyshawn Washington and Brian Ballum?
Right, I'm not mentioning the other ones. Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. They look good in the spring game.
So T-Rob comes in, he wants his guys. He hasn't recruited any one of these guys, fully. So, like, he wants to get some of his guys on the roster, and he's having a tough time. He's helping out at every position, but getting safeties, ironically, is the hardest thing right now for T-Rob because the safeties, the top safeties are like, every other coach is telling me your positions are stacked. I'm looking at these guys. You got a 5-star safety coming in, one of the top high 4-star, 5-star, Devontae Williams that already came in, who's looking great this spring. Like, where do you see me? What do you see me doing? What's T-Rob going to say? Oh, you'll play year one. No, he's not going to say that. Other schools can say that. Oh, we got, our 2 senior starters are graduating. Our 2 senior safeties are graduating. Say that 10 times fast.
Yeah, I mean, they do have Bubba Bolden leaving, Gervin Hall, leaving, Mark Carter leaving. There are guys leaving.
There are guys leaving, but that's not the issue that T-Rob's having with getting top safeties. It's the guys that they got in the last 2 years in this class that are top safeties. So, they're sort of going now down to guys that want to be Hurricanes, that have always grown up wanting to be Hurricanes, or they don't have that many other big name offers, and they're starting to look at those guys. And my guess at the end of the day is they take a safety / cornerback guy like a Darius Thomas and maybe another safety who wants to come, and that's it. And that's the safety class, I just don't see. I don't think safety is a big priority for this class. I don't think any Miami fan would say safety is a big priority. Defensive line's a huge priority. Linebackers a huge priority. I think safeties and quarterbacks a huge priority. Safety is the least of the concerns on defense. So it's just interesting though to watch how they were trying to recruit safeties because of T-Rob, because that's he's the star recruiter and that's his position he coaches. So he of course is trying his hardest, but he's having a tough time. But he's really helping out with the other spots a lot.
Yeah. All right. So all that's on the website this morning. You guys got a lot to dig into there. Also, our State of the U series continues this morning with a look at the wide receiver depth chart, and we just continue onward. Obviously, there's a lot of bodies, Matt, at wide receiver. They need guys to step up and be number one guys, and I think Rambo has a chance to be that dude. I think he's going to get every opportunity to do that. Mike Harley coming back, had that great second half of the season. The thing that's going to be tricky for Mike Harley, and I'm going to be interested to see how this plays out, is he kind of surprised people last year. He kind of came out of nowhere, and in terms of the impact that he was making on the game. Well, now these teams have had the whole offseason to scout Miami and game plan. I think Mike Harley in the slot is going to get a lot more attention this year, and teams are going to have to make sure that they have better matchups on him. And I wonder if that's going to cut into his production a little bit. I personally think that Rambo is going to be the new toy, the guy that gets fed often and gets fed early. Your thoughts?
Everyone's talking about Rambo and Harley. I also like Keyshawn Smith a lot. The problem I have with the wide receivers room is there's too many guys. It's great to have 3 guys I think are really good, but then to me it's just like 9 other guys right now, and it's just taking up so many spots on the roster. And I wish I had a couple other, maybe top tight ends on the roster, and but it is what it is. I just don't see, outside of Harley and maybe Rambo. Remember Rambo struggled with drops last year. People sort of were comparing him a little to D. Wiggins. Rambo had a great year 2 years ago as the number 2
here
in that offense, but last year he dropped a lot of passes. I mean, they didn't really run him enough on deep downfield routes, but I'm not sure if that's Derek King's forte either. So, I'm really interested to see how Rambo does, and I think that directly affects how Harley will do, because if other teams see that Rambo gets off to a fast start, maybe a 100-yard game in one of those first 2 or 3 games, they'll get their attention. They're not going to be focused as much on Harley as they otherwise would be, with over-the-top safety help and things like that. If they got to worry about Rambo's speed downfield, he's lighting it up, that would really help Harley. But I agree with you. If Rambo's not lighting up, I don't think they're going to respect Keyshawn Smith or any other receiver on this roster. And then Harley's going to basically be, be facing a lot of press back, with help from the back end. And it's not going to be as easy for him as it was last year, perhaps, when he took some teams by surprise after, because the fans probably don't remember, Harley's first 5 games were, I wouldn't say god awful, but they weren't anything special. I think, he had maybe an average of 37 yards a game, I think, for the first 5 games.
Yeah,
and then he lit it up. So by the time game 8, 9, 10 came around, teams still weren't like, oh, okay, he's had 1 or 2 good games. They're not like saying we got to stop Harley. And Brevin Jordan and Will Mallory were starting to, Brevin was starting to get healthy at that point, and Will Mallory was doing okay. So, this year you will see teams game planning for Harley. And I'm very curious to see if he's good enough to deal with that. And if he's not, then Rambo's got to be the guy who if teams say, oh, we can't just look at Harley, because otherwise this offense might get a little bogged down if Derek King's not able to scramble the way he was last year. You need that multidimensional or really double receiver threat.
Yeah, and the other guy you mentioned that I don't want to see go another season wasted for him is Keyshawn Smith. I think he's got big-time potential, and it's time to use him. And I know you got 11, 12 guys or whatever, but it's time to put Keyshawn Smith out on the field also and see what he can do with more playing time, more targets and opportunities. All right, well, that's going to do it for today, everybody. A lot to dive into on the website. Hope you enjoy it. We'll be, all kinds of stuff going on as the week goes on. There's ACC Media Days coming up and stuff, so we'll be all over all of this stuff. So we'll be back at you. Until then, we'll say have a great day, everybody.